was pretty predictable that Elio, Disney's newest animated movie from Pixar, was going to flop at the box office. The projections were abysmal, and it performed even worse than those abysmal projections. It didn't look like anything worth actually going to the theater to see, and that's what audiences felt too, apparently, because Elio gave Pixar its worst box office opening ever. A bad opening weekend might not necessarily spell doom for Pixar's latest, but a pattern's emerging that might shape what's to come from the beloved animation studio. No, it absolutely is a massive problem at Pixar, to the point where in the aftermath of Elio bombing at the box office, you had Pixar CEO out there, CCO out there saying, well, we know it's a problem. All our original animated stuff is bombing. We have to come up with a solution because no one wants to watch this shit. Well, now the damage control from Pixar or some Pixar employees has started, and I gotta be honest, it's kind of hilarious to watch this play out. When you have a massive bomb like this, and it is a massive bomb, they're saying the budget's $150 million. We know it's close to $300 million because we knew, and I talked about it weeks ago, that this movie was basically completed and then torn up and they kind of started all over again. That's why it's so expensive. That's why they spent so much money on this. And now we've got some inside reporting on what went down when it comes to Elio, and a lot of former employees are speaking out on this. And while they do show some interesting things that went on behind the scenes and why this was such a big disaster, at the same time, they're trying to blame the executives for the reason that this movie failed. Because a lot of the gay Pixar employees think that the reason this failed was because originally it was supposed to be all about a little gay boy. That's why they think it failed, because they changed it from being about a little gay boy into what it is now. Not the fact that all of these other elements combined. They think it was because they didn't shove enough queer shit into it. That's why it failed, and that's why they're speaking out, which is just fucking hilarious. Inside Elio's catastrophic path, America Ferrera's exit, director change, and erasure of queer themes. Creatives at Pixar, who saw the original director's previous cuts of Elio, tell THR about the movie's challenging production process. Elio just became about totally nothing. And look, with the minimal advertisement that it got, because it got marketing, it didn't get marketed on the same level as we see for most Disney releases. And it was noticeable. And I believed at that time the reason was they knew it was going to be a fucking dead fish in the water. They knew it was going to bomb at the box office, and they didn't want to throw good money after bad after already deciding to do that with this movie. But let's get into this. Those who worked at Pixar while the film, in its latest film release, Elio, was in production, were delighted by footage they saw roughly 2 years ago. Among the moments cited as favorites by those at the animation studio at the time included a sequence in which the boy collected trash on a beach and turned it into homemade apparel that included a pink tank top. The movie's team would refer to Elio showing this off to a hermit crab as his trashin' show. But if you bought a ticket to Elio and don't remember seeing this, it's not just that you chose the wrong time to refill your soda. According to multiple insiders who spoke to The Hollywood Reporter, Elio was initially portrayed as a queer-coded character, reflecting original director Adrian Molina's identity as an openly gay filmmaker. Other sources say he didn't intend the film to be a coming-out story, but either way, the characterization generally faded away throughout the production process as Elio became more masculine following feedback from leadership. Gone were not only such direct examples of his passion for environmentalism and fashion, but also a scene in Elio's bedroom with pictures suggesting a male crush. They wanted to make this show about a gay 11-year-old, or this movie, I should say. That's what they wanted it to be. And you think that if you stuck to that, it would have been good, that it would have been better, that more families would have tuned in for this? That's a joke. Hints at the trash fashion remain in the released film, with the boy wearing a cape decorated with discarded cutlery and soda can tabs, although without any explanation for the unusual attire. Elio's turbulent ride began well before the calamitous nosedive at the box office. Indeed, summer of 2023 became a fateful one for the animated film about a lonely boy beamed into outer space by an intergalactic organization after being misidentified as the leader of Earth. The writing was first on the wall for the troubled production when the film from Molina, known as the co-director of Pixar's Oscar-winning hit Coco, and Coco, one of the best Pixar, well, probably the best Pixar movie of the last decade, if we're being honest, certainly the best original one. I love Coco. I think it's amazing. Although viewers expressed how much they enjoy the movie, they were also asked how many of them would see it in a theater, and not a single hand was raised, according to a source with knowledge of the event. This sounded alarm bells for studio brass. So keep in mind what the narrative of this article is about. You have a bunch of gay activists within Pixar who are speaking out about this film and saying that it was so much better in its original state, and it's just a shame. They really sabotaged this movie by removing all the gay shit from it. Yet, from the sources that were present at the test screening, not one single person who watched, we'll call it the gay cut, not one single person who watched the gay cut would have gone to a theater to see it. Does sound like it was a problem. Does sound like something needed to happen. And really, they should have just thrown this shit away instead of trying to retool it. But here we are. It was around that time Molina screened his latest cut to Pixar leadership. There are differing accounts of the exact feedback the director received from Pixar's boss, Pete Docter, when the lights went up, with rumors circulating in some of the studios that Molina was hurt by the conversation. Couldn't imagine a gay man getting emotional. The part that is clear is that Molina exited the project soon after, and much of Elio was reworked under new co-directors, Madeline Serafian and Domi Shi. Now, we get to this. This is when you start to get some of the insight from the Pixar people. I was deeply saddened and aggrieved by the changes that were made, says former Pixar assistant editor Sarah Legatich, who provided feedback during Elio production as a member of the community's internal LGBTQ group Pix Pride. Although she praises the new directors that came in, Legatich notes the number of creatives working on the film stepped down after the director shared the first cut of the movie. The exodus of talent after that cut was really indicative of how unhappy a lot of people were that they'd changed and destroyed this beautiful work. Another Pixar source disputes that people stepped down in response to Molina's departure. So what we are seeing now, right, you can see here, it's pretty clear through the production of the first version, the studio leaders were constantly sanding down these moments in the film that alluded to Elio's sexuality of being queer. So you have different accounts from inside Pixar, and it looks like a lot of the gay activists want to pretend like the reason that this film failed, the reason it did poorly, is because Disney executives said, hey, stop putting, it's not a really good time to put a bunch of this gay shit in children's movies. Maybe cut down on that. Maybe cut back on that. Maybe we're not going to do that. And they think that's what led to this to being a failure. Newsflash for you. If we had those headlines in the lead up to Elio, well, what Elio was going to be, it would have been even worse for this movie. It did not have a good second weekend. It's not going to make any money. It's certainly not going to make its massive budget back. It is going to be yet another Pixar original flop. And you know what? Truthfully, they probably should have just axed it instead of taking something that was already written as, you know, a guy who has done good work before as a co-director for Coco, instead of taking his activism, right, putting himself into this story, making it about a young gay boy. If that's what you have, if that's story you have, just fucking shit can that. And don't spend another $150 million, $100 million, whatever it is, trying to rework something that was built on that into be something else. But the idea that they're blaming, well, you know, this movie could have been a smash hit if you just let us make a little boy gay throughout the entire movie is wild. But this is what you start to see when you let the activists inside your company. That's what this is. And this is what Disney is infested with. So we've heard a lot from Disney about how they don't want to be involved with this political stuff, how they want to stop with the political messaging, how they just want to get back to storytelling. But the problem is you hired all these fucking people. You hired all of these people who are now entrenched at your company and will try to put all this stuff in. And then when you say, hey, maybe we don't want to push gay shit on 11-year-olds, then they come out and they speak out about it. They say it's so bigoted that they wouldn't let this in. How dare they? Look at how they sabotage themselves. Then they start making bad PR for you. And here we are. This is a problem that Disney has caused themselves. And now it's led, whether it's Walt Disney Animation Studios, whether it's at Pixar, it has led to the destruction of these once beloved, once iconic, once could not miss at the box office brands. And now here we are with Pixar. The worst opening weekend we've ever seen. One of the biggest losers that this company is ever going to see when it comes to Elio.